Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today on this Monday, including Dan Murphy standing by, sponsored by Passant Motors. It's March Mayhem at Passant. All month long, choose one of no GST, 4.99% on a 2020 and newer vehicles. Did you write this, Ryan? Or a $2,000 trade-in bonus. They got some good deals there at Passant. Get all the info at Passant Motors, BASANTmotors.com. I've got Empire Field.
Oh, yeah, right.
At 27.5 capacity. Empire Stadium, you were right, Rick, 32.7.
I always knew Empire was 32. Coliseum was 16,433.
We'll look that up, too.
No, Pacific Coliseum was 16,433 sellout. Google it. I'm 100% right.
Okay.
I remember my 80s numbers.
We'll believe you. I'd love it if it wasn't. I can't remember.
16,433.
Okay. Maybe Murph knows.
He doesn't know.
Canucks knock off the Ducks 2-1. They extend Elias Pettersson. Dan Murphy joining us from Southern California, Sportsnet.ca. Murph, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm only, a kilometer away from the happiest place on earth, so how could I not be happy?
Yeah, no
so
kidding.
Do you go there? Do you plan to visit there? Or have you been already, maybe?
No, not this trip. I haven't been there for a while. And then the last time I went, I want to say it was about 5-6 years ago, because Joe Thornton was still a member of the Sharks, and I remember it was during the All-Star break. And as any parent, you're just trying to make it through the day. And it was the year that Thornton, like at the beginning of the year, everybody's like, oh, he looks refreshed. He looks like he's in his 20s. I can't believe this guy's in his late 30s, maybe his early 40s at the time. He's reborn. Yeah. Well, I tell you, that day I saw him pushing the stroller around Toontown, he wasn't reborn. He was as defeated as any other adult in that entire theme park. And we looked at each other and we shared some misery. So I don't think I've been back since then.
Career went downhill from there. All right, Murph, hockey. Canucks over the Ducks 2-1. How much do you think? And again, Rick Tocchet described it as a grind game. I think that's the phrase he used. It wasn't the most entertaining game in the world, but they won. How much do you think? And this didn't happen. I think it happened once in February. How much do you think having 2 days between games helped the team yesterday?
And I think it helped. I mean, to me, the game against LA last Thursday guys looked tired. I mean, Quinn Hughes looked exhausted. I thought Demko looked tired. And it looked to me like it was the first time the season had kind of weighed on them a bit. And they played more games than anyone. They played more road games than anyone. So I think a little bit of rest helped them refresh. Quinn Hughes looked entirely different than he did against the Kings. I think the underlying numbers were outstanding in his favor. He had that usual jump. So, yeah, I mean, I hope they can use this schedule now in their favor moving forward. There's a lot of home games. There's a lot of days between games for practice and rest because, they've kind of been smooth sailing this year so far until really the All-Star break. And now you have teams that have to turn it up, have to ramp it up to try to make the playoffs. And the Canucks are comfortable right now. So they're going to need their rest and figure out a way to match the intensity and the desire of some of these teams that are really fighting for their lives.
Murph, Nils Hoglander, not the most ice time in the world. He gets his 19th goal, all at even strength. He's got more even strength goals than the likes of McDavid and Marchand. What's he showing you with that limited ice time and very little time on the power play?
Yeah, I mean, I just love the way that he's evolved, and even this season. Because, earlier in the year, he didn't get a ton of praise from the head coach. The coach said, I like some of the stuff he's doing, but he still needs to learn, my non-negotiables. And, that always means, can he defend? And let's not forget, this is a guy that, had some troubles with Travis Green, didn't really earn the trust of Bruce Boudreau. So he was working on his third coach. I just like the way he's developed. I mean, in terms of the system that Tocchet likes, the forechecking, the winning puck battles, he's a menace out there. He's not tall, but he's built like a fire hydrant. And I just hope that he's not one of the players that's in play if they're trying to make a bigger move here in the next 4 or 5 days, because you're going to need, for lack of a better term, cheap labor, cheap, good labor. And he's exactly that for this team right now. To produce at 5-on-5 the way he has has meant a lot to the team. And I think, like, I wonder where this team would be without him in that third line, when Joshua was healthy for stretches this season, because they really did drive the play at even strength.
Dan, you're on the road with Pettersson. Do you see a more relaxed guy in the last 24 since him signing a contract?
I mean, he walked into the rink yesterday, and was standing there talking with Craig McEwen, of course, PR with the Canucks, and Shorthouse was there, and Tomlinson. He walked in. It's the first chance I had to see him since signing the deal, and he seemed happy. We congratulated him. He said, "Thank you very much," and he's a guy that always keeps his, regardless of negotiations, it kind of keeps to himself. He's pretty private. I'm not going to say I know him better than any member of the media. There's some texts here and there, but surely he doesn't divulge anything to me. But I would think that, I had a tough time reading this situation. I mean, when Frank dropped that there had been significant movement, I think that was last Tuesday, that was kind of out of nowhere for me. This contract, just the way he had been speaking about it after the game against LA, he said, "I'm just talking about the game." It seemed very sensitive to him still. But clearly, I mean, as Rick knows, talking to the agents, and I think you guys had Barry on today.
Yep.
This was a date, this kind of a time of the season that they were working towards getting it done, and I think that the fact that Pettersson wanted to end any sort of distraction, he wanted to give the team some clarity going into the deadline, some financial clarity into the summer when they have 9 UFAs and 2 RFAs to worry about. I think that says a lot about the kid, and he did look happy yesterday. But I'm not going to say he walked around with a frown on his face, a couple months after this.
No kidding. Okay, the trade deadline Friday. What does this team need? We keep hearing they're in on big names, not in on big names, and now we're hearing again this morning they're in on Gensel again. What are you hearing?
Well, I mean, if it's Gensel, I wonder, is it not too expensive? I don't think they want to touch Lekaramaki. They don't want to touch Vilander, I don't think. Nope. Does that mean Elias Pettersson Part 2 is in play? Does that mean Podkolzin could be in play? And a pick, they don't have a first. They don't have a second. I don't think they have a fifth this year. So I think what they need is, you'd love to get Gensel and sign him. I don't know if that's possible. I think they do. I would focus more on forwards than on defense.
Yes.
I think they need a little more grit in that top 6. I think Frank Vatrano would be a perfect fit. But again, I mean, Verbeek last year, remember everybody wanted Henrique. He didn't get what he wanted. He didn't move him.
Yeah.
He had a year left. So I think that they're going to be asking a lot. But someone like a Vatrano, even Henrique, I think someone like that can play in the top 6, play in the wings. Because if Tocchet is going to continue with using Lindholm as a 3-line center, you really need to shore up the wings. And I think that's where they have to look. With Soucy coming back, of course you would have loved to have Tanev on the right side. But I would worry more about having – and it's funny to say because the team has killed at scoring goals this year at 5-on-5. But I still think you have to look at scoring going into the playoffs.
Hey, Murph, you mentioned Demko looking tired. Not a knock at him, but I think most people would agree with that, understandably. So how important was it for Casey DeSmith to get some action yesterday and get his first win since early January?
Yeah, and especially with the way the last game went for him, it wasn't his fault in Minnesota. I mean, all the 5-on-2 goals. And I think it was important, even Tocchet said last night, for Casey to have a win like that, 2-1 win with chances in the third, with it being a tight game, just to show that his confidence can get back to where it needs to be to play him down the stretch. The Canucks are still in a pretty good position. They want to win the division. Edmonton is still on their heels. But, as all the numbers show, the people that look at this stuff, any goalie that plays more than 60 games, 60 plus, going to the playoffs is going to be tired. So I think that means they still need to get to Smith maybe 5 more starts in the last 19 to keep Demko at 60. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So I think it was essential for him to have a good performance, especially because the schedule is not tough for the Canucks in terms of the spacing, as we said, and the home games, but you still need to find a way to get him in there.
One more, Murph. Ryan wants to know if the Canucks flew from Anaheim to L.A. for tomorrow's game.
This is what we deal with.
I'm serious. He wasn't sure.
Hopped on a bus last night, so from Anaheim, and I'm guessing they would have been at the hotel at LA Live there probably in 45 minutes. Okay. I was looking. We're still in Anaheim. Shorthouse, myself, Greg Shannon, Dave Thompson. We're going to grab a car service here at I think 12:30, and it's going to take an hour at that time. You just got to miss the real traffic time. So I'm sure they would have got there in about 45 minutes last night.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. Murph, above and beyond as always. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, gents, take care. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.